we will occasionally ask AI questions about what we do. We happen to have an above average, we have an expert level knowledge of workers' comp law. And so when we ask AI a question about workers' comp law, it gives about an average answer. It gives an answer that probably just an average attorney would give out there that doesn't know a lot about workers' comp law, but they've studied law and they have. So we found that AI gives about an average answer. And what complicates that is the person asking the question often has a much lower than average knowledge about workers' comp law. And so when they ask a question of AI, they get an average answer and they think it's an amazing answer because AI knows more about workers' comp than they do.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Main Street AI Podcast. This is Stephen with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Jacob Hill, the owner of Just Work Comp Law, a Utah firm that has practiced exclusively workmen's compensation law since 2004. Jacob isn't an attorney. He has a background in business management and supply chain operations, was recruited away from a Fortune 100 company by his father-in-law who founded the firm, and operates under Utah's legal Sandbox, which allows non-attorney ownership of law firms. What I found most refreshing about this conversation is Jacob's honesty about his own industry. He told me that workers' comp law was originally designed to work without an attorney, and that for many people with minor injuries, hiring one can actually make things worse. His firm routinely spends more time educating callers about their rights than trying to sign them up as clients, and they will openly tell people not to hire them if the situation doesn't warrant it. He also cautioned that when a consumer asks an AI about workman's comp, they get an average answer, and because they have a below average knowledge of the topic, they think it's an amazing answer. But anyone with expert level knowledge can see immediately that the response is missing the nuance that actually matters. Let's dive in. Jacob, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Excellent. Thanks for joining. And please go ahead and give us a high level overview of what you do with your firm.
Yeah, so at Just Work Comp Law, just like the name says, that's all we do, 100% workers' comp law. We've been in business since 2004, and we've grown from a single attorney to now we have 6 attorneys that practice exclusively in Utah workers' comp law. We do have some attorneys licensed in other states, and we occasionally will take some cases in other states, but workers' comp law is a very state-to-state centric law, and so it's something that for the time being, our main focus is Utah, and eventually we may have plans to grow outside. But yeah, that's all we do, workers' comp law. I'm not an attorney, so I actually am. We are a part of the Utah Legal Sandbox, which allows for non-attorney ownership of law firms. And I've worked at the law firm for 16 years and have been the owner of the law firm for the last 5.
Great. And just interested, since you're not an attorney, what got you into this particular domain?
Well, I had actually my father-in-law was the founder of the law firm, and he realized pretty quickly that he makes more money if he practices law instead of running the business. And so I have a I have a background in business management and supply chain operations and just general business operations. And so he recruited me away from a job at a Fortune 100 company, and I stepped in and kind of took over the business management side and have kind of pushed the growth since working for the firm.
Fantastic. Granted that you're not actually one of the attorneys with the firm, but you certainly know the business and you know the ins and outs. One thing I always like to ask is for people that aren't on your side of the fence as the professional, what sort of things do they tend to maybe misunderstand, underestimate about what you do, and things that you would recommend to them for the clients you'd be working with?
Oh, that's a great question. I one of the things that's really interesting about workers' compensation law is it was not originally set up to need an attorney. Actually, the workers' comp law is still set up in most states to not require the assistance of an attorney. And what I mean by that is they have removed a lot of the typical requirements of a normal tort case where you have to show negligence and contributory negligence, and you have to basically prove whose fault it was, and whoever's fault it was, depending on your state, determines how much and who has to pay. And the original idea behind workers' comp was to avoid having to get attorneys involved so that it would speed up the process. You get hurt, doesn't matter with workers' comp whose fault it is. They don't care if it was your own fault or your employer's fault that you got hurt. They wipe that off the table completely to speed up the process. And so, generally speaking, the system is designed to work without the help of an attorney. Now, that obviously we exist because the insurance companies have their own tactics and ways that they try and get out of paying. But for a large portion of the people, especially with more minor injuries, getting an attorney actually sometimes makes it worse. And so that's one of the things that I really enjoy about what we do and the way that we've practiced workers' comp law for the last 20 plus years is we want to try and do what's best for the client. And sometimes the best thing for the client is don't hire an attorney. Just let the process play out. Let this thing work out the way that it's supposed to. And we tell people all the time after we talk to them the first time, if you never have to call us back, that's usually good news because workers' comp did what they're supposed to do. Now, obviously, workers' comp doesn't always do what it is supposed to do, and so that's kind of where we step in. And there's a lot of misunderstandings on the part of the insurance companies, the adjusters, our clients, and so we're really a big part of what we try and do is educate people that have been hurt at work, not only about what their rights are, but also at what point does it make sense to get an attorney.
Excellent. Uh, from the standpoint of kind of our current theme here, which is technology, AI, what sort of trends are you seeing right now in the legal domain? And are you guys using it at the firm already? And in what ways?
Yeah. So I think generally speaking, the first way that it affects us is with people that have been hurt at work. I think the anxiety level of speaking to AI and asking AI a question is a lot lower than calling up a law firm because for whatever reason, people maybe feel like they're more committed to working with an attorney, and maybe people don't know if they want an attorney, and maybe they've had interactions with other attorneys that just say, "Oh yeah, come in, I'll sign you up," even though you don't really, even though they may not really need an attorney. So maybe people are a little apprehensive about contacting an attorney. So I think from the initial step, like people are asking AI lots of questions. Um, I I think that one of the things that is still kind of making its way into the zeitgeist of just our culture is people assume that AI knows more than it really does. And what I mean by that is we will occasionally ask AI questions about what we do. We happen to have an above average, we have an expert level knowledge of workers' comp law. And so when we ask AI a question about workers' comp law, it gives about an average answer. It gives an answer that probably just an average attorney would give out there that doesn't know a lot about workers' comp law, but they've studied law and they have. So we found that AI gives about an average answer. And what complicates that is the person asking the question often has a much lower than average knowledge about workers' comp law. And so when they ask a question of AI, they get an average answer and they think it's an amazing answer because AI knows more about workers' comp than they do. But what they don't realize is the answer that AI is giving them is only an average answer and it's not an expert level answer to a question. And it's true for anybody. If anybody wants to test it, take something that you're an expert on, go ask AI the question, and you'll realize that it's giving an average answer, but it's missing maybe some nuance that you would get if there was somebody at an expert level knowledge.
That's such a good point. There's actually There's actually a, I don't know if it would categorize as a logical fallacy, but it's a cognitive bias. That's exactly this, the Gell-Mann amnesia. Have you heard of this?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, yeah. So it describes exactly this. I almost wish this would be like a disclaimer on some of the public LLMs because basically it was Michael Crichton, the novelist, actually
Yeah.
coined this term because he had this. Um, he was friends with a physicist named Murray Gell-Mann, and but as the story goes, even a brilliant physicist could open the newspaper and look up. He'd read some article on something that, again, he was an expert in, just like what you're describing. He could immediately discern all the flaws in the reporting in the story, but then he would turn the page and immediately think that everything else that he read that was outside his domain was accurate, right? And so this
Yeah.
this gets exactly to this point. So that's a really good, yeah. And I mean, even attorneys have gotten called out, right? Just like
Yeah.
not understanding the the limitations and parameters of going to just chat gpt or something and just trusting the
Yeah.
precedent that it has because it's trying to please the end user. This has come up a
Yeah.
bunch on the podcast, and they've gotten themselves into hot water. Now you could write that off as negligence, or you could write it off as maybe just simply not knowing what the technology is capable of and is not capable of without the proper parameters in place. So
Well, and I think the other issue with that is like people when they AI will give the wrong answer sometimes, and maybe the question they're asking is, do I need this? Do I need to get an attorney, or do I can I do anything about my situation, or is my situation a workers' comp case? And AI may say, oh, nope, it's not workers' comp. When having an expert level knowledge, we would look at it differently. We'd say, no, actually, based on our experience over the last 20 years, you absolutely have a workers' comp case. And and so what it could be doing is it could be negatively impacting people's desire to consume legal services, at least specifically in the workers' comp world. And so that's concerning on the prospect side, is just people's over trusting of what AI is telling them.
yeah. So when would you say is the point that people should be consulting with you? I mean, my guess is based on the fact that if you will tell people, hey, you don't need us, like let the process play out as you mentioned. So would you say if there's an injury and if there's any question whatsoever, they should just come consult with you first?
I think so. I there's kind of there's some attorneys practice in a way where if you and it may not just be in workers' comp law, it may be in other areas, but there's some attorneys that if you call them and say, "Hey, I got hurt at work, I need help," they'll say, "Come on in, sign this thing, and I'll be your attorney." And we usually will caution people against that. So, like, if they call and talk to our firm, I usually, when I screen somebody at the end, I'll kind of say, "Hey, listen, now we've talked about this, and you may go talk to other law firms. I'm not saying don't do that, but just be careful because if somebody that you talk to says if they promise something that we've already talked about that we can't go after, then be careful because that attorney may not know what they're doing. Um, Also, be careful because they may try and sign you up as a client, and that will not help you in any way and may actually harm you. And you may end up giving money to an attorney that didn't even earn that money. So I'll say, unless you really like giving attorneys money, I wouldn't jump on and try and hire an attorney right away. So short answer to that is yes. I think if somebody calls us right away, they can be confident that we're not going to just push them into a formal relationship with us where we're representing them. And we want to be more of an advocate for them. We try to put ourselves in the place of the person that got hurt. I've done a lot of blue collar jobs throughout my life. And if I ever needed to call somebody, like we want to try and treat people the way that we would like to be treated if we were calling somebody for the very first time. Anybody that's an expert, I just hope that they'll be honest and upright with me and tell me what they can and can't do. And we want to do that from the very beginning. So I guess what I'm saying is I do think you should call us right away. I understand can be some apprehension about doing that, but um, you can rest assured that we're not going to try and push something on you that is not in your best interest if you do.
Great. And then circling back to AI, I think what you mentioned there from the consumer side is a really good point. Um, what do you, on the flip side, what do you like about it? What do you like about uh, where it's going?
We we've actually really started to embrace AI. We're in the Google infrastructure, so we do a lot with Gemini, and we've got some of the we use some of the Gemini products. So like we've been using Notebook LLM to do some case evaluations, to do medical record timelines, and we've been working around some prompts. I have one of my employees who's a very tech savvy guy, and he's been building gems, Gemini gems, which are just pre-programmed prompts, and we've been using those for various parts of our process, anywhere from initial consultations with clients where we're trying to gauge the potential value of the case, down to he calls it our interrogatory slave. So one of the process part of the legal process is doing interrogatories, which is just an exchange of questions between us and the defense attorney, and we use a Gemini gem called our interrogatory slave, and it really helps speed up the process of handling interrogatories and other parts of the process. So that's how we're using it that way, and we're building more and more into that um, part of the internal processing of cases using these gems.
Great. Now we'll circle back over to your business, just a little bit of a deeper dive. What would you say that you guys do? Obviously, you're very specialized, but what do you do extraordinarily well that maybe sets you apart from other workers' comp firms?
Well, we've already talked about it. I think the first thing is that we sincerely want to do what's best for the person, even if that means doesn't not hiring us. Um, and I think that's one thing that we try and keep it low pressure, where we try to be very informative. We've had many people that talk to us and they'll say, "Oh man, you have spent 3 times as much time talking to me about what my rights are than any other firm I've talked to. And you're not even saying I've got to come in and sign you up." And we just, we feel like it's the right thing to do. And I'm a DIY guy around my house. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I know enough to get bigger projects done around my house. And so I'm kind of hardwired as a DIY and or DIY guy, kind of guy, and we kind of offer that to to our prospects. We say, "Hey, listen, here's a couple things you can do on your own. Go try these things, and if and they should get your case going. And there's no reason for us to give us an attorney's fee, but we educate people where they where we would be helpful. So that's one thing that we do well, and we try and just maintain relationships with people that call us. You know, it's kind of a leap of faith to give us a call, and so we try and maintain those relationships. And if we have somebody that we may potentially work with, we try and stay in touch with them. Um, the other thing that we do well is because we do workers' comp only, we have we've probably taken more cases to the Utah Labor Commission than any other law firm in the state over the last 20 years. And so we have a lot of experience. We have a lot of time in front of a judge. We have a lot of time writing briefs and other motions and that sort of thing that we need to defend cases. And so we've done because we do so many cases. Our attorneys meet regularly, and we are always collaborating. So if the attorney is running up against a problem or something that he hasn't seen before, then the other attorneys will often chime in, and so it's kind of like the rising water floats all boats. Like one person learns something new, and and everybody shares it in the firm, and they're like, "Hey, this is how we did this." Um, we've so anyway, I guess that expertise has given us an edge on being able to give the best results for people, because we have not just your attorney working on the case, but we've got other attorneys that are also helping and supporting if we run into things that may be new.
Right. I love that because a couple things really echoing exactly what you're talking about just came up on an interview I did last week, like coincidentally. Uh, so a lot of time spent on education, and someone might think, well, why would I do that on the front end of the paywall, right? It's like why wouldn't we save that until actually somebody's engaged with us? But the level of trust you build with that is tremendous. Like you said, you're relationship driven. And then the other thing is the collaborative nature with the other attorneys, I think is so powerful. I always come back to Ray Dalio's book, Principles, and what made him so powerful uh, with his predictions and his models that outperformed every other hedge fund was the fact that he ran his company uh, as a flat idea meritocracy. So they're very, very rigorous on hiring, but also on placing people in the correct roles. But beyond that, anyone in the room who has the best idea on a given subject that they're trying to tackle, it could be someone's administrative assistant, could literally be the secretary. If he or she had the best idea in the room, they're going to defer to that person for that. So it's very, very collaborative. And the whole culture is like trying to weed out people that are going to be resistant to that, right? They are really embracing the power of that rather than trying to feel paranoid about, well, I need my idea to be
Yeah.
this, or I need to be in this role. And so people that fit with that culture, it becomes a superpower. So that's really great.
Yeah, I mean it's so easy to have employees that make their job about them and not about the company itself and about the people we're trying to serve. And we've been fortunate and blessed to have a great team of people that it's about the best outcome for our client and less about them, about their own ego and them being the top, whatever. So we've been very fortunate. We've got a great team of just grounded, down to earth people, all of which have had blue collar jobs at some point in their life, and so they're very well connected, uh, you know, with what our clients are going through.
Very, very important as well. In terms of growth, where are you at in terms of a growth stage right now? I know you said company's been around since 2004. You've been, taking the reins for, I think you said 5 years now. What stage are you in? And then where are you looking to get to in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, I'd say we're in the scaling stage right now. So we're in a phase where I'm having to take off. I'm having to wear less hats and delegate my responsibilities to other departments. I just finished a book by Gino Wickman called Traction,
Oh,
and
it's so good.
yeah, it's a great book. And so we're kind of working through that right now, trying to scale up and get the right people in the right positions and get the right swim lanes for people, and then collaboration between those swim lanes and making sure that we're kind of all moving in a common direction because it this has all been centralized. This is common, I'm sure, to all small businesses that are in our phase, but you got the main director of everything that eventually can't do it all at once. And so we're at that phase where we're delegating things out and trying to um, build up that middle level of management to take on some of these tasks.
Is that would you say the real project is for the next 12 months is building out that entrepreneurial operating system?
Absolutely. It really is. And honestly, I'm the biggest I'm the biggest bottleneck in the whole process because, you know, I have these my little babies. Oh, this is my baby. I got to keep it and I can't delegate it, right? And I heard of I can't remember what book it was in, but I heard somebody say that 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome. And so that's something that I'm trying to uh, remind myself as I delegate more and more of these processes so I can focus on where I drive the most value in the company.
Very good. Um, Aside from the common uh, phenomenon you just mentioned, which is letting go and being able to delegate, if you could wave a magic wand hypothetically and fix any anything else in the business that might be slowing it down or any challenge to growth, what would that be?
Hmm, good question. I would say probably getting a more centralized marketing plan um, that was more comprehensive. And I mean, we do a lot of marketing in a lot of different areas, but I think having it, waving a magic wand and having that be um, running like a well-oiled machine with the multiple inputs that come into it and the multiple employees that are involved in that process, that would probably be the thing that I would wave my wand over first.
Right. And then, Jacob, where I like to wrap up after we've gone through this whole conversation about, workman's comp and technology in your business, I always like to end on the human note. What would you say is your big personal driving motivation, your big why for what you do every day?
Honestly, I have, for me, a big one is I want to give good jobs to good people. And um, I've just got great people that work for me. I've been blessed by other people that have given me chances in other jobs that I've had, that have given me opportunities to grow and to do my best, not only for the company, but even more importantly for customers, and making a difference in people's lives. And so I just, that's my one of my whys is I want to give good jobs to good people. And I also, a big why for me as well is having worked a lot of blue collar jobs myself, and working in warehouses and plumbing and landscaping um, and mechanic shops and that sort of thing. I realize that some of this stuff, it's a grind. Some of that stuff can be a big grind. I mean, a job in general takes a lot out of you, no matter what you're doing, whether you're an attorney or whether you're a mechanic. But there's a struggle every day sometimes, or sometimes the struggle is more where you got to get up before anybody else. It's dark outside, the sun's not even up. You're trying to put your boots on, and you're going out to go take care of a problem. And sometimes you're putting your life on the line. I've got some friends that are heavy equipment operators, and they are the most religious people I've ever met, because they're praying their guts out when they're in the heavy equipment, hoping they don't hurt themselves or anybody else. And so I know that it can be a big toll, and it takes a lot of grit to get up every day to go out in the cold and the rain and the heat to do some of these kinds of jobs. And I think that that is what makes our country great, is that people get out and go do hard things, even when it's uncomfortable, and and then when they turn around and they get hurt and they get kind of brushed to the side, that just frustrates me. And so that's another big why, is I have so many family members and friends and even myself that have done these tough hard jobs day in and day out, and I just want to do what's right by them and be honest and straight up, and give them what I would hope to receive if I were ever caught in a situation where I was hurt at work and I needed to know how I was going to put my life back together. And so those are the two whys. I want to give good jobs to good people, and I want to support the people that are doing those tough, gritty jobs day in and day out.
Yeah, what a great answer. And yeah, I appreciate it. Your sincerity really comes through there. It really does. So you can tell that you genuinely care and you know what it's like to walk in both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
So
So,
Jacob, thanks. How can people best in Utah best reach out to you to find out about your services, get some consultation?
well, we love to talk to people on the phone. So if you want to give us a call, our the best number to reach us at is 801-746-0290. And we have a whole team of paralegals and attorneys that can help answer your questions. You might even get me on the phone. I pick up the call every once in a while still when the phones get busy. Um, but yeah, we'd love to just talk to you, hear your story, hear what's going on, and we'll give you the good, the bad, and the ugly news. We're not going to tell you what we think you want to hear just so you can come in and get signed up as a client. We'll tell you what's good and bad about your situation and try and give it to you straight. So yeah, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. Um, if you want, if you're more comfortable, you can go to our website and chat with us online, or you can even submit your information through our website and somebody can reach out and talk to you as well.
Fantastic. I'll make sure I put the website in the description as well.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Jacob. This was a really great conversation. I appreciate having you on.
Hey, thanks, Stephen.
Excellent. Take care.